Students walked into my room not knowing the unit we'd be studying, and instead I introduced them to this glass jar of pearls. My question, how many pearls are in the jar? After a few moments of guessing, I said, it's 1947, which also happens to be the year that our novella was published. Our novella that we'd be studying was The Pearl by John Steinbeck. Hey, I'm Katie Long. I teach English at Gramercy Christian School. I teach 10th, 9th, and 7th grade. Today I'm going to talk to you about some innovative strategies I use when I teach, and most specifically, what I most recently used when I taught The Pearl. The first thing I did was really be intentional about introducing the material before we even started studying it. So we solved some riddles together. How are pearls made? Where are they found? What was the most valuable pearl ever found in the world? From there, we moved into studying a couple poems. We looked at some things that our author had written, not the pearl. And then we also were really intentional in debating some topics together. And so we talked about what's more important, wealth or security or education. The students then debated about greed. You know, where does greed come from and why are some people greedy? And they all agreed greed is bad. And so I took that challenge upon myself because our novella tackles greed. And I wanted to prepare them to read this and really engage with the material. So I really focused on some experiences and how to get them engaged in the material. Before we delved into our novella, the first thing we did was form teams. As a team, they would travel through studying the novella and they would be experts on their characters. So each team chose a character, not knowing anything about their character, and they made these team placards and they were tasked as experts on the character. And so their job was to follow the character line throughout the novella, knowing that their end assessment would be these large character examinations, and they would have to present to the class everything they learned about the character's thoughts, the character's feelings, the character's experiences, had the character changed. And we really studied dynamic and static characters, round characters, flat characters, indirect and direct characterization, all through these character examinations or character autopsies that they'd be finishing at the conclusion of our unit. And so as a team, they made these placards, and then they knew they'd be responsible for these at the end. That really set their sights on a goal as we moved through the unit. And so to introduce that idea of greed, I gave each team a little empty bag. And their challenge was to fill the bag with pearls. They could earn pearls through excellent answers, through reading for the novella, and even some pearls were earned through differentiated methods. Some groups of girls decided to all wear pearl jewelry one day in hopes of earning more pearls for their bags. So the pearls were very successful in class as students really tried to beat one another in earning the most pearls, and they all hung in classroom on the bulletin board in class under their name placards. But just earning the pearls wasn't enough. Our novella tackles risk, and so I introduced these game cards. And the game cards were winners and losers. And so students could choose, if they earned a pearl, they could choose a risk card, or they could choose the known, a pearl. And so quickly, our classroom environment mirrored that of the town that's presented in our novella. And so students would start shouting, card, 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 when they were given the opportunity to choose a pearl or a card. Now, underneath the cards, it might say, Team Coyotito, if they were scratching off the card, it might say, you owe the doctor 20 pearls, and so they would lose. And so as they would scratch off their card, the team chanting would change from card, card, card to lose, lose, lose. And so quickly, our class started realizing the connections between everything that was happening on our plot line in the novella. It mirrored everything that was happening in our classroom environment. I used several innovations to really make this material life-impacting and a unit that will stick with my students forever. Many of them commented on that. They took it home as dinner table conversations. They shared that with me after class. Some students even shared that they would come early to class and scour the floor looking for dropped pearls to add to their bags. Still other students took it upon themselves to do independent research on the pearl. So before I close, I'd love to share more ideas, but I'm going to ask you, what year was The Pearl published? I'm going to bet you remember it was 1947.